You're listening to the Brian Donahue Podcast, a production of Trekking Jesus, boldly going into the farthest reaches of the galaxy with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Trekking Jesus is an online community for Trekkies who love Jesus to talk all things Trek, their faith, and everything in between. Join me and special guests from around the world as we engage in relevant discussions about Trekking Jesus. Let's get ready to fly and boldly go right now. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, aliens from around the galaxy, it's my privilege to welcome you to the Brian Donahue Podcast. I'm your host, Pastor Brian, and I am so excited to have you listening to the podcast. Of all the millions of podcasts you could possibly be listening to, right now, this moment, you're listening to this one, and I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, follow button. It really helps the algorithms put this in front of more people. And even write a review if you like it enough to do that and care to spend an extra minute. That's extra helpful. Today, this episode is going to look a little bit different. It might be a little longer than normal too, which I'm okay with. And I know you're going to be okay with once you hear who is on the podcast today. This gentleman has written a book that impacted my life. It made me cry. It made me laugh out loud. It made me pump my fist in the air so many times, shouting, yes, yes, that's amazing. Because it's about one of my all-time favorite Star Trek characters and my all-time favorite Star Trek captain. The book is called The Autobiography of Benjamin Sisko, written by the one, the only, Derek Tyler Attico. And yes, that's who's on the show today. Say hello, Derek.
Wow. Brian, hello, Derek. Wow. I felt like it was like a little bit of like an Ed Sullivan callback there, man. So
there you go. I'll take it. I like it. All right. Doing my best to, yeah, you're welcome, sir. I'm so excited you said yes to coming on the show. You were one of my favorite guests we've had on the Big Sci-Fi Podcast, and you're just a fantastic person, but a very talented writer, and creative mind, and no kidding, folks. If you haven't read The Autobiography of Benjamin Sisko, you're missing out on, in my opinion, one of the great Trek stories. It gives so much extra detail and background to Ben Sisko's life, to Jake's life, and that whole Deep Space Nine arc is absolutely terrific. You're going to get so much in it. And so I guess, Derek, let's start with, I like origin stories. Why don't we just start from the beginning of your creative process? How did you even begin to say, hey, I think I have a knack for writing. I think I want to do this?
Oh, wow. Wow. That's really a great one, Brian. Well, it goes back to basically I was as a little kid, I have like one of the only pictures I have of myself as a baby is I'm maybe like 1 year old, maybe one, and I'm lying on the floor reading a pop-up book in diapers.
That's great.
I'm gonna post that at some point.
Yeah.
And it's so cute. And so I was a reader from the start, and my mom got me from reading like kids' books to pop-up books, and around, I don't know, 5 maybe, she graduated me to like Grimm's fairy tales, the real ones.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. Poe. I was really big on Poe. I was like riveted because the bedtime story she would read to me was like almost every night was like Poe or Grimm's fairy tales.
Wow.
That's 5, 6 years old, and so I just started reading on my own. I think the first thing I read on my own was like the Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas.
Yes.
So I was probably like around 8 or 9 reading that. And then 10 years old, Star Wars happens, as it does to many artists. I'm exposed to Episode 4, A New Hope. But for me, I didn't really want to be so much like a Jedi Knight or Luke Skywalker. I mean, I loved all of that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to know how this stuff was made. Who was this guy named George Lucas? How did he do all this? So I started reading, and in my head at that time, my favorite comic book character was Batman. I was 9, 10 years old, right?
Yeah.
So I said to myself, I'm going to be like Bruce Wayne. I'm going I'm going to train myself in like film and writing for like 10 years, like Bruce Wayne trained himself, you know.
Hmm.
And it's kind of a kid's mentality, you know.
I love it.
So what I started to do is I started going to the library, which are essential
Hmm.
libraries, and I started reading. And so I found out that, hey, you know, this guy named George Lucas, he was making these films. And my parents would always take me to films, and um, they really didn't like curtail what films I could see. So I'm like 8, 9, 10 years old watching like THX 1138,
Wow.
um, even like Dog Day Afternoon, which is really like, you know, Jaws, um, Diamonds Are Forever, the Bond stuff. So, you know, as long as it wasn't like gratuitous,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
they let me watch it. And all of that exposure, I know your listeners are like, is he going to answer the question? So all of that,
I'm having fun, Derek. I don't know.
right, right. So all of that exposure, I started to want to write,
Wow.
and I started following like in Lucas's footsteps, and I learned that Lucas had idols like Orson Welles and Akira Kurosawa,
Mm.
you know. And so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna write a Star Wars screenplay. You know, God was a kid. I'm
Yep,
gonna write a
yep.
Star Wars screenplay. But for 6 years, I didn't do 6 or 7 years. I didn't write a word really. I just read. You know, everything I get my hands on about writing, storytelling, the
Hmm.
proper ways of storytelling, the proper ways of directing, film, all of that. And around 16, 17, I wrote my first script and I gave it to my English teacher, Miss Tisdale. And I was in honors English, I remember. And I asked her to check it for like grammar and all that stuff. And she didn't give it back to me for like 2, 3 weeks.
Hmm.
I was like, what's going on? Is it that bad? You know?
Or she's
And,
stealing my script.
right. Or is she stealing my stuff? What's happening? Right. And so, you know, I wrote all this before, like in between,
Hmm.
this was like in between Empire Strikes Back and Jedi. Jedi
Gotcha.
hadn't come out yet. And she said, I'll give you back your script, but you have to come with me someplace to get it. And I've already gotten your mom's you know, your mom has already agreed you could come with me,
Mm.
but you have to come in this way. I'm like, okay. So we went down to Manhattan, and I think if I recall right, we went to the Shakespeare Theater Company, and they were having an award ceremony for the Writers Guild of America.
Hmm.
And they had a contest where they had selected um 12 students from across the country out of like 12,000.
Wow.
And my script was one of them.
Hmm.
And so I was like, oh, I guess I can write, you know?
Yeah.
That was the first thing I ever wrote.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So that's the answer to your question. I'm sorry, so long-winded, but
That's all right. In that field, obviously having that award or being chosen amongst those 12, you know,
right,
an incredible achievement. No matter what age group, for crying out loud, you
right,
know, just that's incredible. Had to fuel the fire inside of you to just keep going. Like, you know, what if that teacher would have not really
right. Teachers,
done, not just it's okay,
right. Oh, it's
you know?
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Teachers are essential, man, you
My
know,
goodness, yeah.
and to be really honest, like, you know, I really wanted to write after that. You're right. I really wanted to write. And I remember I had a guidance counselor that was like, I don't really see it for you. It's not really going to happen, which kind of like
Mm-hmm.
dashed my hopes.
Yeah, yeah.
Applied to NYU Tisch School of the Arts, and I got accepted,
Mm,
but I couldn't afford it.
mm,
Even with, you know, financial assistance, I couldn't afford it. So I was like, well, my second love is law. You know, I'll get into law, I'll become a lawyer. So I went to John Jay College Criminal Justice, and even when I was there, I was there for 3 years, just taking law stuff. But I also took like every film and writing course I could.
wow, wow.
And the dean of students was like, "You don't belong here.
Mm,
You belong in a school for the arts," you know. Um, but that didn't really happen for me. If I'm being really honest,
Yeah.
it didn't really happen for me. I had to make money. I had to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
But I always loved film. I applied and I got accepted a job at a Time Warner Cable at the time, doing like video production. And so I did that, and I really wrote for like fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing was published, nothing was
Mm-hmm.
anything. And a lot of years like that. And I was like, oh, maybe something that happened with this. I don't know. I don't know if I'm any good anymore. Maybe I'm not
Mm-hmm.
any
Mm-hmm.
good. All
Yeah.
those things in life, those voices that tell you don't go for your dream or don't do
Yep.
this thing. And then a friend of mine, she's like, hey, there's this anthology contest, Star Trek anthology contest called Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And you like Star Trek, and all you have to do is write a short story. Maybe you'll get accepted. Maybe. And I was like, wow, it's been a long time since I've written anything.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I really wrote was a screenplay. I'd done some short stories here and there, and I had taken a class on how to write comics from Denny O'Neil, which was like
Oh wow.
instrumental. And so I was like, all right, let's try. Let's see what happens. So I wrote this story. I wrote it, I guess in about 3 weeks. I did a lot of research for it, though. Wrote it, sent it off, forgot about it.
Mm.
And because I was like, I wasn't pinning my hopes and dreams on it or anything. It was
Right.
just
Right.
something to do. I got a call months later that it was accepted and it took first place.
Wow.
And that was the first short story I'd ever written. So I was
Hmm.
like, okay, I gotta now. I think now if I don't start trying to write professionally, I'm kind of like ignoring the gift that I've been
Mm-hmm.
given.
Wow.
And I felt like that would be more of a disservice. Not like I'm this big thing or anything, but if
Right.
you're given something,
Yep.
I don't care what it is, if it's accounting, if it's whatever it
Absolutely.
is, if you have a gift, pursue it.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
let go of that dream.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, all right, let me get back into this in earnest.
Wow. I love that, Derek, because there's so much in there that is helpful for young and old alike, in my opinion. Because I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of people, I mean, really from their 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe on up, that have a sense that they either missed out on something, they did have a
Hmm.
gift, and they got married, had kids, had to have
Yeah.
jobs, had to pay for stuff,
Yeah.
and had fulfilling lives. We don't have to act like it's all bummer or anything totally,
Right.
but I think people do have a sense of, man, I wonder if I know I'm good at this. I wonder if I should have tried to pursue it more. And then you have people that are much younger who are being pulled in so many different directions, hearing advice from
Hmm.
hopefully well-intentioned people who care about them, who are trying to steer them right, like a guidance counselor at school, right, like
Right.
parents, grandparents, all that stuff. Um, that finding that balance of taking care of business, which is important. You have to eat, you have to have clothes on your back, place to live, all that stuff, pay
Hmm.
your bills, but also figuring out, how do I follow this and use this gift, even if I don't make a cent at it. This gift is probably here to make the world better and
Right.
to bring happiness and joy to other people, to
Right.
serve other people, to help other people.
Right. Right.
And so for me, like, I'm hearing your story, Derek, and going, man, brother, like you took care of business. I mean, you know, and you also just stepped through an open door. Like, someone said, you should submit a story here. You like Trek. You just stepped through that door and said, okay, let's give it a shot.
Yeah. Yeah. But I didn't know, I didn't know what would happen. And it's never been for like the money or for
Mm-hmm.
like accolades. That's not what motivates me, man.
Mm-hmm.
I it's yes, it's changed over the years, but the foundation of why I write is
Yeah.
I have things I want to say,
Mm-hmm.
and part of it is I just need to get the stuff out of my head or I'll go nuts.
Yeah.
I think as artists we have an idea, a vision, a thing. Even if it's strumming a guitar, if you got to do it, you got
Yep.
to do
Yep.
it. You can't stop. And as I've gotten older, I'm like, well, if I'm going to be writing anyway, what am I going to talk about? Am I going to do the pew 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 all the time and do all that,
Yeah, yeah.
which is great and fun,
Hmm.
but maybe I can talk about something. Maybe I can take my lessons from Rod Serling and Gene Roddenberry and
Yeah.
have a message in it.
Yeah.
Not to hit people over the head, but
Right.
to kind of say something about what's going on. Be a mirror to society.
Absolutely. And I think you do that really well in the autobiography to Benjamin Sisko. In what better vehicle than Star Trek, which is known for
Right.
talking about a plethora of modern day issues, some heavier than others, but still important in a way that us as fans can maybe think about it in a different way. We can open up our minds a little bit. It's entertaining. We love the characters. We love the backdrop, the universe, all that stuff, and to think about that stuff. And so let's get into that a little bit with your book,
Sure.
because I there's a ton I could ask you just around this, but what is the origin of this particular story of Benjamin Sisko?
All right. I'll keep this shorter, folks. So in 2016, I wrote a short story for the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, and it was that same Strange New Worlds contest again.
Hmm.
And by that time, by 2016, from 2005 2016, I hadn't done a lot writing. I'd done some things. I was learning the business and all that, and I wrote another Strange New Worlds short story. It was a Deep Space Nine one called "A Dream in a Dream," and that got accepted. And I was really happy about that. And what happened was around 2021, I guess, somewhere around there, um, someone was doing a podcast and they said that they were talking about the autobiography books of the captains
Mm.
and that Cisco had been skipped over because they did Picard, they skipped over Cisco, and they went to Janeway, and someone in the podcast was like, "Oh man, this guy Attico wrote this really cool short story back in 2016. If anybody should be, pulled for the Cisco autobiography, it should be him."
Wow.
And Titan Books got wind of that, and so it's all about keep pursuing your dreams, keep doing
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
because I remember when Cisco got skipped over, and I was like, "Oh man, I wonder how they're ever going to do the autobiography. I wonder who. I mean, I would love to, but that's never going to happen." And so then Titan gets wind of that, and they reach out to me, and they're like, "Hey, we want to do the autobiography of Cisco." One of the reasons they skipped over it was because he's in the wormhole,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I don't think that's much of a spoiler now.
Right. Right.
Right, but he's left in the wormhole, and they weren't really sure how to do that,
Mm.
how to do his
Interesting.
autobiography, so the idea that they had was that it wouldn't be Cisco's voice, it would be Jake writing the book Anselm that he talks about in the series, and he would be writing that. And in that, it would be not autobiographical, but it would be
Hmm.
biographical about his father and about Jake. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And my attitude was, I was talking to the managing editor at the time, George Sanderson, and my attitude was, hey, I don't have the gig yet. Nothing to lose, you
Hmm.
know.
Right. Right. Yep.
And I said, look, that's a great idea, but I have a way to do it where it's autobiographical. It's actually Cisco
Mm.
and his voice. And the good thing about that is that it wouldn't break what you have running with the other captains, And they were like, well,
Yeah.
how would you do that? And I'm like, well, he sends a transmission. This is not too much of a spoiler for the book. He
Yeah.
sends a transmission from the wormhole, from the Celestial Temple to Deep Space Nine. And it's like in that transmission is over 50 hours of like video of him talking to Jake, to tell Jake about his life, because he knows that Jake is now of the age. Jake is now 20, about to be 21. He's about to be a man. And even though Sisko isn't there, he's aware of this. He loves his son, and he wants to impart lessons to his son. And in imparting those lessons, he talks about his life. Therefore, it becomes autobiographical. And when they was like, oh wow, they really liked that idea, and that's how I got the gig. That was how I got the gig.
Amazing.
Right? It's crazy.
I love
it's crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, but again, there's a good lesson there, right? Like, for people listening, like, sometimes, what do you have to lose? Go for it. Be bold, and
be bold.
People, you're gonna get no's everywhere you go in life. I mean, for crying out loud, be bold and try, see what happens, and keep moving. But so one of the things I loved about the book, and again, I don't want to spoil it too much, because I don't want to rob people of, especially Deep Space Nine fans, of the joy of reading this book for the first time. I mean, Derek, I think I shared with you when you were on the Big Sci-Fi podcast, I read it over vacation.
Right.
And my wife and my sister-in-law and brother-in-law are laughing at me the whole time, because I'm sitting in the comfy chair just crying at times, wiping tears from my eyes. Times I'm laughing out loud.
Right.
The book is so rich with backstory of young Benjamin Sisko. And one of the things that you do super well in the book, which is something that I know we both loved about DS9, the series, was you pushed forward even deeper that father-son connection between Ben and Jake.
Yes.
That was so crucial in that series, I think. Honestly, one of the most important things that made me love that series. I mean, it's got so much. Major Kira's character as just being one of the first strong women of her kind,
right?
Really on television,
right?
Played by the one, the only Nana Visitor. He's going to be at Trek Long Island, next week, and but like this series was so deep, so rich. But for me, one of the things I attached onto was that father-son connection. I had a real good relationship with my dad growing up. I know what it's like to have a father figure that's active in your life. I was blessed. I know I'm blessed. I know not everyone gets that. But you really preserved that really well in this book.
Thank you. Yeah, this Deep Space Nine, the series, 7 years. It starts and it ends with family.
Yeah.
And there was no way I was not going to really make family. I knew I had to make family the cornerstone of this book. And I spent a long time. You're right. I spent a long time. Almost half of the book, I think, is spent on Earth and with Ben and with his family, and you get to understand who he is as a kid and as a young man, and so that by the time I do get to the Sisko we know, it all makes sense. It all is like, oh, okay, I understand why he's such a strong individual, why he's so confident. I see the people that were in his life, his parents, his grandparents. I see all that, and to be transparent, I wasn't raised with a father. My father left when I was around 10. So for me, it was also a way to write about what I knew are the things that I would want to tell a son, what I would want to be told to me.
Yeah.
And not things that are pie in the sky, not things that are unrealistic. There's a moment in the book where almost said Jake, where Ben does something and he really kind of like messes himself up. And his father explains to him, he says, Ben, there's a difference between entertainment and fulfillment. And you need to understand the difference between those two, because you're not doing that. You're trying to entertain yourself, but you're not fulfilled. And these are the kind of things that I wanted to impress upon in the book, and hopefully people would get something from those things. Hopefully,
Yeah, I think they do. And anyone I've talked to that have read it, it's it's amazing. And I'm not just saying this to fluff up your ego, my friend, but it's amazing how you captured the voices of these characters. It was so easy for me as I read to hear Benjamin Sisko, to hear
Right.
Avery Brooks and his delivery, and Sarah Lofton, it was so fantastic. And I think that's one of the things that draws me to your book too, as I read it, and as I go back and think about it. I'm due for a reread here probably
Mhm.
sometime in the next few months. But I just I love stories, and that's one reason I'm connected to Star Trek. Why it's always
Right.
resonated with me. I love stories that teach me something, or even at times make me uncomfortable with what
Yes.
I perceive to be truth.
Yes.
Um, and I think that you accomplish that in this book through the telling. And honestly, like I love that you didn't shy away from the spiritual aspect of where Ben Sisko is
Right.
and what that means too. Because that was crucial to this. That's one thing that set DS9 apart, was their emphasis on the prophets and that whole spiritual side of the Bajoran people.
Right. And what's it like to live a non-linear existence? Or, especially if you're a linear person and you start to live a non-linear existence, that was a little dicey.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
and I'll be really honest, I know a lot of writers don't do this, and I know writers will sometimes give off the air of like, well, yeah, I've practiced a lot of my craft and I'm really good. But let me tell you something, throughout the writing of this book, I was like in a bubble. I
Mm,
couldn't talk to anyone
mm,
about it because you have a non-disclosure agreement.
right. Okay.
And the only people that knew about it was I wrote a outline for Paramount, Star Trek, and they approved it, they liked it. But in the middle of the night, 1, 2 in the morning, and you're writing, and you're like, am I really touching on the emotions that I want to touch on?
Mm,
Am I really hitting the mark? Or is this just gonna be crap?
hmm.
And honestly, those feelings and thoughts ran through my head,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and and I kept coming back to um two things. One was be honest,
Mm, mm.
even though it's fiction, what I like to say to people is that I try to write truth into fiction, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
be honest, and I had learned a little I had done a little acting, so I had learned a little bit about sense memory and how to do that. And so when I wrote some tough scenes, I want people to know they were tough for me because I
Hmm.
went back emotionally to what I felt.
Right.
You know, my both of my grandparents passed back to back.
Mm,
And so there are things that happens to Ben that was written from places of emotion, not necessarily fiction, if that makes
yeah.
sense.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I'm like, well, some of this stuff is like happened in my life, and it affected me.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll impact someone else, and I think that's what comes through. I felt at some point like it was almost like a channeling,
Mm,
of truth and honesty and emotion. And I was
yeah.
a
Yeah.
conduit. That's what it feels like in some ways when people tell me like what you're saying. I'm like,
Hmm.
really?
Hmm.
But I'm just really
Yeah.
happy that I did justice, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think one of the things I gotta believe, because this has been our experience with the crew of the Big Sci-Fi, as we had you on the show and have seen you a couple times at Trek Long Island, and interacted with you, like you've got a humility about you that is just authentic. And I
Oh, thank
think,
you.
and if we've had that experience, it's got to be the experience of other fans you've interacted with,
Right.
as you listen to their passion about the book you've written, and to have that shared experience that you felt these things too. You're
Right.
not just creative enough to put them out there, but that you felt those things too, I think is really huge to the fans of this book.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. No, I would write emotional scenes and then because I'm kind of like, let's get to the next chapter, let's get to the next
Yep.
scene.
Right.
But
Hmm.
I started to realize I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. I had
Hmm.
to after I wrote an emotional scene, I'd have to like that would be that would be my writing for the night or for the day, and I go watch like Trevor Noah or
Mhm.
some comedy or a cartoon series or something because I found I couldn't keep tapping into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not healthy for me, to keep
Right.
tapping into that and then not putting anything back,
Hmm.
or not coming off of that emotional place. If you plateau emotionally, you just don't keep going. We're not machines,
Right.
physically,
Yeah.
mentally.
Yeah.
And I learned that, and I think that helped the writing as well because I remember there were times that I cried after writing stuff because of where I had went,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
to write it. But now I know a little bit better, so now I pace
Right.
myself.
Well, another thing, and maybe this will be one of the last things we talk about this part of your career, before moving on to what you got new through the pipeline and all that stuff, and what's
Right.
cooking inside your mind. One of the things that I loved about the book too was just your world building
Mhm.
around things that do exist, like New Orleans. And just made it come alive. Like you felt like you were immersed in that restaurant with the Siskos,
Right.
and even the Starfleet Academy stuff. Like it was, I just for me, you did a really sensational job of building the world that we are familiar with. But in a different way it had enough futuristic and nostalgia stuff in it that was really terrific.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I remember late one night, like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, I was coming up to the part where I wanted to start writing, about the restaurant and what's happening with that. And I was like, they built those sets. Where can I get the plans, the blueprints for those sets?
Mm.
And it was like 1 in the morning, so I couldn't like email. I mean, I couldn't reach
Yeah,
out to
yeah,
anyone.
yeah.
So I started scouring the internet, man. And about an hour, 2 hours later, I found on some website the actual blueprints to the Cisco's restaurant,
Wow.
the set.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what that did was great because it opened up visually. I could like, okay, not only looking at it from, like we all do looking at it on the show, but I could see the blueprints. Okay, the staircase led to here. And then when you look on the outside, the facade, the building is like 3 or 4 stories.
Mhm.
There's a building right next to Cisco's. What is that? Is that a bookstore? Okay, I'll make that a bookstore. And all the little things I started to do. And it made the place feel real to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it makes it feel real to me, I'm hoping that it makes it feel real to readers.
Mhm.
Um, and it became a home. I started to envision it, and it became a home. It's where the Cisco's lived. I talked a little bit about their history during before and
Yeah.
during
That was
World War
fascinating.
Three.
Mhm.
Yeah, Katrina. I talk about, Hurricane
Mhm.
Katrina. I really tried to dive into New Orleans. I knew jazz and New Orleans had to be characters, and food had
Yeah.
to be characters in this book as well.
Mhm.
Otherwise, people would probably be like, want to hunt me down and be like, what? And so I went onto message boards and I would just hang out on message boards from people that lived in New Orleans and read them talking about their
Mm.
city and what they loved and this and that. And like the a New Orleans funeral, what that's like,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
funerals are like, what the music is like, and how jazz
Mm.
is so intricate. And I have people tell me, oh, I've been to there's a not really a restaurant, but like a jazz club in the book. That's a real jazz club, and people
Mm.
have been there and told me that I describe it exactly how it
Wow.
is. And I'm like, I've never even been to New Orleans. So that was really cool. And for Starfleet Academy, that was a tough one because figuring out like what to do and what to say and
Yeah.
what does he go through. And I was like, well, he's got to be, the Cisco we know is this man that doesn't take anything. He doesn't suffer fools.
Yep. Yep.
You know,
Right.
he has a command presence, but it's not just a command presence. He just has a presence because it's Mr. Avery Brooks, right?
Yep.
So I was like, okay, I can start to build that here. I can really start to have people push him and we've all been in those moments where you go to you're out of high school or you go to college and people want to impress upon you who
Mm-hmm.
they are, and sometimes you
Right.
meet the wrong people who think you're too big and they want you to be smaller so they can
Mm-hmm.
feel big.
Mm-hmm.
We've all felt that
Yep.
in some respect, one way or the other. So that's what I started to write for Ben, and that worked.
Yeah,
Thankfully.
and that progression of him, because we all love the man he is in Deep Space Nine, and even he goes on an incredible journey through that series. But I think it's really helpful for young people to see older mentors, whether they're 10
Mm,
years older, 20 years older, whatever, to hear about those journeys and to see the weakness in their youth, to see
right,
the naivete, to see the
right,
mistakes. Like I tell people, I'm very open as a pastor about mistakes of my past. I want
mm,
other people to learn.
right,
I'm even open about stuff I'm going through now. Like,
right,
hey,
right.
we're on this journey together. Let's learn together and quit pretending like we're all stinking perfect. And let's learn about that. And so that was another aspect of the book I loved is you didn't just make younger Cisco a mirror image of older Cisco.
Right,
Which is would have been preposterous, right? I mean, I just
right,
would have been silly, but
right.
to see that in the way you did, in the way to see his kind of rebellious side, and was so much fun. I mean, just so much fun, and it made me fall in love with this series. And this is what I want to say to Deep Space Nine fans, especially those that were original Deep Space Niners. You didn't give up after the first half of the first season, right? You
Right,
stuck
right.
with it. You got to enjoy those Dominion Wars, baby, and all that stuff. Like just to see that made read your book made me go, ah, Deep Space Nine, it's the best. It's the best in my opinion. So
It is. It is, in my opinion, too. Thank you.
yeah.
And thank you, man. Yeah, it was an honor. It's an honor to write for that character, and to
Mm-hmm.
try and flesh him out and build him out and build his family. And you're right. It's our mistakes that really shape us.
Mm-hmm.
Success is great,
Yep.
right? We all want that, and I think we're in an age today where all of our successes are forward facing.
Yeah,
Where
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right, all of
Yep.
that is on our social media, what we've done and who we,
Yep.
oh, and I'm this and I'm that, or I look
Mm-hmm.
like this, or and so all of that is forward facing, but the reality
Mm-hmm.
is that we all have problems,
Mm-hmm.
we all have failures, we're
Mm-hmm.
doing our best to learn from them, and we all have insecurities because we're human.
Yep.
We're human beings,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to not to not write that would have been a disservice to those great characters and to the
Yeah.
readers coming to the book. So yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I love you so much, man. You're so inspirational
Back at you,
and
man.
again, just your humility and your creativity. But let's shift gears here. What's you got going on now? What people that read this book, the autobiography, are gonna want to know what else they can get their hands on from you, and what are you working on now? All that good stuff.
Oh, that's a great question, and thank you. Well, for the last like 14, 15 months, I've been working on a project for Star Trek, for Paramount, called Star Trek Timelines.
Mm.
And it is what it sounds like. It is taking the 60 years of Star Trek and putting it into a book. And this was done through DK and with
Okay.
three other writers, Kelly Fitzpatrick, Jim Johnson, and Michael Dismuke. And the four of us have been tasked with taking 60 years of Star Trek, over I don't know, I don't even know how many hours of
Right.
television and film, and putting it all together in a book for DK. And DK is, if any of the your listeners out there, DK is wonderful at books that tackle history and
Mm.
fiction and television and film, and do it in a way that is almost cinematic with really great images and
Hmm.
pictures. And so imagine these
Okay.
large coffee table size weighty books,
Yeah. Yeah.
300 plus pages. And that's what I've been doing for like 14, 15 months.
Wow.
So it's been nuts. But it's coming down to a conclusion now. And we were all tasked with different elements of Star Trek to write about. So for me, I was given the original series, TOS, the animated series, TAS, all of the original series films, 1 through 6,
Cool.
Generations and First Contact, the last 2 seasons of Next Generation, 6 and 7, all of Deep Space Nine.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, yeah. People like, yeah. I think I'm kind of like known as the Deep Space Nine guy now. So, and it's just an honor to keep coming
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
the Deep Space Nine and make sure that it's handled with the same care, and make sure that all of Star Trek is handled with the same care
Yeah.
that I did
Yeah.
for the autobiography.
It's
So
amazing
all
to
of that.
me. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's
No, go right
amazing to
ahead.
me the nostalgia I have with Next Generation is Deep Space Nine is my unequivocal favorite. Next Gen is my what's the word I'm looking for? Nostalgic favorite. I don't. That's not quite the right word, but it's
Runner up, maybe.
sentimental favorite.
Sentimental, yes,
Because that's
yes.
how I came into my Trek fandom.
Right, right.
And Saturdays watching the Next Gen, just being captivated by it. But it is amazing to me, Derek, how you mentioned the original series. Like, it is amazing to me when I talk to fans who were around when the original series aired, who were captivated by it then, um, and are still talking about it like they're making new episodes. You know what I mean?
Man,
Like, it's amazing.
it's amazing, brother. It's amazing. And I still watch, like I have Amazon Prime,
Hmm.
and Amazon Prime has like live TV. So they have like a channel that just shows like Star Trek.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's nuts because like sometimes an original episode will be on and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll watch that.
Hmm. Yep.
and,
Hmm.
and I've seen them all, but it's something about Star Trek where it's written so well and so much care and thought into these series, these episodes, where it's generational. You can
Yeah.
jump in. I mean, it's 2026, right?
Hmm.
And it's literally episodes written literally 60 years ago.
Yeah.
And okay, and yes, the effects may be a little, dated and all that, or probably a lot dated,
Hmm.
but the stories, the acting
Yeah.
is such high quality, the emotion, the
Hmm.
lessons
Yep.
that you're pulled in,
Hmm. It's great.
and so hopefully when writing the timelines book was the mission is to capture some of that,
Hmm. Sure.
and we
Sure.
we were given 40 words um per episode if possible, which is
Wow.
nuts,
Yeah.
which is really nuts.
Wow. What a task.
It's really hard to
Oh
do.
man.
Some episodes you can get in 40 words, but some episodes had to be like more than one entry, more
Hmm.
than one 40-word entry.
Yeah.
Um, and you really start to focus on the major plot of a episode, like the A plot, not the B plot of an
Hmm.
episode,
Hmm.
and write about that. And then you start to string all of this together by years in the Star Trek universe. So I know, like, 2266, and that's like a really hard year for Kirk, and 2375 is like the end of Deep Space Nine. So you start to see things in a different way and write
Yeah.
things in a
Oh, that's
different
so
way. But
interesting.
I think it's going to be a book that will be great for hardcore, diehard Star Trek fans or people just coming to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you could look at any page and say, "Oh, that's interesting," and there's an episode or a movie you could watch about that page.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
that's what's
fantastic.
it's really cool, man. It's really cool
Yeah.
stuff. Really cool stuff.
Awesome. Well, you're going to be at Trek Long Island too?
Yes, sir. I will be at Trek Long
Awesome.
Island the end of this week, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I'll be at Shore Leave in July. I'll be at Star Trek Las Vegas in August,
Cool.
and I'm supposed to do Dragon Con in September.
Okay. All right. Just
So
a busy, busy man
busy,
over
busy.
here. so also talk about your solo. I would be remiss to not let you direct people to your podcast too. I know the Soul of the Story is a part of the Sci-Fi Sisters podcast network. Tell us about that. How can people find you, and what's that all about?
Oh wow, yes, thank you. Yeah, that's part of the, as you said, Sci-Fi Sisters Inc., Sci-Fi Sisters Network. And what I do on Soul of the Story is I try to have conversations with individuals that uh, are in the entertainment industry or in the creative arts, and trying to get to the soul of their story, as well as talking about and discussing storytelling. So, for example, tomorrow, which is Wednesday, right? Tomorrow, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow, I have a show with the folks at of a new role playing game coming out called Noir 1933.
Oh yes, I've seen you posting about it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and it's very interesting because I've been pulled into that as a writer and a photographer and creative consultant for them,
Nice.
which is really great. But the idea and the attitude is that it's 1933 in the world, and there are a lot of things happening behind the scenes.
Mm.
So if you want to think of like for example, Sinners takes place during that period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot happening, and there's a lot happening on communities of color,
Mm-hmm.
disenfranchised communities. Uh, there's a lot happening behind the scenes. How are these communities celebrating? How are they pushing back against things happening to them? And all of this is happening in an environment where there's the supernatural and magic and
Wow.
and steampunk and all kind of things going on. So it's a very interesting dynamic. It's a really cool idea of world building
Mm-hmm.
because that's a period also that's between World War I and World War II. And it's a really interesting period for America and the world.
Right. Right.
And so we're going to be coming to you with some stories about that. I'll be talking to the teams that are putting that together. And we're also going to be showing the trailer, which is on Kickstarter. The Kickstarter is ongoing right now for that. And we have, I believe a few days ago, we hit our mark for
All
our
right.
goal for the
Yeah.
Kickstarter, which is great. But we now have some stretch goals, including a
Yeah.
comic that we want to put out, and another rule book that I'll be co-writing.
Okay.
So some really cool stuff.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, Derek, I have been thrilled to talk to you about your book and about your creative processes and all that stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, now it's time, and we've saved it for the end. It's time for Why the Heck Is This Your Favorite Episode? The portion of our show where we bring in one lucky fan to get their 10 minutes of fame discussing their most favorite Star Trek episode of all time. All right, my friend. I asked you to come prepared with your favorite episode of Star Trek for all time. I just
Yes,
want
you
our
did.
listeners to know that I have no idea what Derek is about to say because I want my reactions to be original, raw, and authentic. And I love it when I'm shocked. I love it when I'm pleasantly surprised. I love it when I go, well, that makes sense too.
Right.
So without further ado, Derek, why the heck have you chosen this? Well, first of all, what is it? And then why the heck is it your favorite episode of all time?
It's so tough, man, because you're asking for like one episode, and There's so many.
Huge
There's,
universe.
there's In the Pale Moonlight. There's The Visitor.
Yeah.
There's, Far Beyond the Stars, of course, right?
Goodness.
But I think for me, I was going to say Where No Man Has Gone Before, which is the second pilot for the original
Okay.
series. It's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But I think for me, the best is All Good Thing.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I say that because it's so well written,
Yeah.
and there's a vulnerability to the characters. There's a vulnerability
Mm.
that Picard has in the episode where he's like he does not know what's going on, and you get the impression. I just watched it again about a week ago, and you get the impression that he's scared
Hmm.
because because Q has told him, hey man, you are going to destroy humanity, and he doesn't know what's happening. He's moving back and forth through time. And just the writing of it
Mm.
to come up with that kind of idea, and you gotta think about it. That was what? That was the last episode of Next Gen. So that was like 95 around
That
there.
sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, 94, 95
Hmm.
around there.
Yep.
That's really good writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really good writing. And I was thinking, maybe like What You Leave Behind, which is
Hmm.
really good as well.
Hmm.
It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe those two back are
Okay.
like my top. I think those
Yeah.
two.
All right. I don't know if I've ever heard anyone say all good things before for their favorites, so I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And for all the reasons you just described, yes, I get it. And now I'm going to go watch that again. I remember watching that when it aired originally. That was my big television event,
Right.
right? And
Right.
then the next big one was Worf coming on to Deep Space Nine.
Was Worf
Right
coming
now.
on? Right.
So I just remember that finale of Next Gen being a really big deal
Really. Yeah.
on television, and just like going, whoa. And I loved that they didn't make the future perfect.
Right.
Like they weren't all this one big happy family as they projected out. Not now, hopefully, now we have Picard and we got a terrific season 3 of Picard.
But
But
that's the beauty of Picard is because there are things from All Good Things that we see come to
yep.
fruition. Because now
Oh
we
my,
are
yeah.
like 30 years later
Yeah.
in reality, and it's
Yeah.
nuts.
Oh my gosh.
Like in All Good Things, Jordy talks about like his wife Leah and his daughters,
Mm-hmm.
and now in Picard, his
Oh,
wife
right.
Leah and his daughters, and so there's a lot of reasons why I like All Good Things, man. It was bold too.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Writer, it's a big swing,
Mm-hmm.
to take like you said, the future version of them in All Good Things that everybody has been like they haven't seen each other in years, and
Mm-hmm.
Worf and Riker aren't even speaking, and
Yeah.
there's a lot going on that I really loved about it, and I think in a lot of ways I've never had like a lot of formal training and teaching in regards to writing. I've honestly,
Right.
the writers of Star Trek and films and television have taught me a lot about
Yeah.
storytelling and writing, and that finale was very informative to me as a writer.
Mm.
As
Interesting.
you can be brave, be bold, big swings.
Mm.
So yeah, so that was, and Star Trek has always done that for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why I said All Good Things. Yeah.
Wow. I am speechless over here. That is terrific. All good things. I'm going to watch it too.
Please.
That's one reason I love this segment of my show is I get episode watch suggestions. Like, some of them I haven't seen for years, and some of them I'm going, "Oh, that's okay, yeah."
Great.
Had a gal on that said Sub Rosa was her favorite all-time
Oh
episode.
wow, that's an
Um
interesting choice.
So, and she explained it. I go, all right, I get it. Yeah, I get
Okay.
it. Understanding. She kept saying the campiness of it. She knows it's that, and all that stuff.
Right, right.
But those are also reasons she loves it. So, anyways, Derek, man, what a privilege, what an honor to have you on the podcast, man. Appreciate you sharing your heart, your story, and your life with the listeners. And guys, seriously, check out the Autobiography of Benjamin Sisko. Be looking out for Star Trek timelines. And then also, of course, listen to the soul of the story. You can find that, I'm sure, on all the major podcasting platforms, everywhere you love to listen to podcasts. But Derek, man, I'll see you in just a few days in Hapog, New York, at Long Island. And all right, guys. Hey, I just want to encourage you for just a brief moment here before I sign off. Make sure that you are kind to the people around you. Be sensitive, be compassionate, and serve somebody. Make your life about more than just your own success and financial gain. Look out for those around you. Check in on your neighbors. Mm-hmm. Be a good coworker. Care about other people's lives and what they're going through. And be slow to anger, because you never know what other people are going through and why they're treating you the way they are. So listen and be there, and you'll make an impact in the world around you. For sure. One person at a time, one relationship at a time, one smile at a time.
That's beautiful, Brian. Thank you.
Hey, guys, boldly go. Keep on trekking. Watch more Star Trek.
Do you really know my name? Do you know what I look like? Do you know what it's like to be ashamed? I wonder if you'll make it through the night. You say that you know my pain, but are you willing to fight for me? Is there anything I can do or say that would help you to better see? Have you ever fallen down? Have you ever needed saving? gotta love to live.